Timothy Thielen, and I will be telling you a little bit about my work here, which is nurturing Indigenous food systems, TITC's Indigenous approach to marketing and collaboration. That was me, my big smiling face with some lettuce that I grew, my mentor, Dr. Ted Hibbler. And in the background there, you can kind of see some old Indigenous routes that different nations would use to trade with each other. Anyway, continuing on, our mission and vision. So our overall idea was to revitalize pre-colonial trade routes across Turtle Island, which is kind of an indigenous term for North America. And we are trying to create modern pathways that honor ancient indigenous trade networks. And we're doing this by trying to support native food producers and entrepreneurs and building resilient, sovereign food systems. And in front of you here are my 6 members currently in the coalition: In His Spirit Incorporated, Coffee by Josh, Iron Bear Sacred Care, All Natural Greens, Natera, and Turtle Island Indigenous Youth Growers. I believe Sandro from Natera Regenerative Agriculture is in the crowd today. So hi, Sandro. I hope you're doing well. Only positive things to say here. And so this is the model in which I base a lot of my marketing and business work with Indigenous folks. We utilize a concept called a medicine wheel. And this way, it kind of mimics a human's natural relation to the seasons, cycles of life, right? So we're always kind of in this feedback loop no matter what we do. And I wanted to apply that to business and marketing. So to start with, we'll start in the East here to share your business's purpose. This is where you come up with your new ideas, where you start to clarify your vision and start to articulate what value you're trying to bring to the community. The South direction is building relationships through stories. That's the heart of your community connections, sharing your business journey and impact, and growing trust through an authentic narrative. A lot of the time I feel that marketing advice can, I don't know, kind of makes me feel sleazy in a way. So whenever I approach working with someone, I want to make sure that that relationship is authentic and that we're trying to bring real value to our communities. And you can kind of see this in the West direction, finding community partners. It is a place of strategic reflection, deeper reflection, strategic alliance building, learning from those challenges, and strength through collaboration. No one's an island, right? So we have to rely on our community. And we do this through our North direction, wisdom and leadership, moving beyond transactions, long-time community impact, and fulfilling business responsibilities. All businesses are part of a community, and if we can support each other, that just builds a stronger foundation for everyone. And this takes us right back to the East. It's a continuous cycle of refinement and improvement. So to get a little bit more specific, we're going to be looking at the East and South, your purpose and your stories. So what is your purpose? What is your community impact? And how do you communicate effectively to different audiences? I try to provide kind of a real example of each of these directions with the partners I'm currently working with. So one real world example would be with Coffee by Josh. Very simple quote. He's a young man. I think he's about 17 years old. And whether it's an early morning or a late night, the answer is simple: Coffee by Josh. He does one thing. He is a premium Indigenous roasted coffee supplier. He tries to support Indigenous vendors. It's simple and memorable. He does one thing and he's doing it quite well. Going to our South, that's building relationships through stories. We share stories of our community impact and we try to use those to build genuine connections. For example, Iron Bear Sacred Care. It is a group of sisters and they grow herbs and they make value-added products using their ancestral healing traditions, right? So they're kind of bridging the traditional uses of these medicines and trying to bring, the modern concept of wellness to the market. And they're building community through shared experiences, and each product carries a story of healing. These products don't just exist in isolation. They have a tradition and a history, and they're bringing that to a modern audience, to the wider community. Moving on to the West and North, this is how you build strong networks. So in the West, We're going to find our community partners, identify aligned organizations and businesses, build mutually beneficial relationships, right? That's always the main goal of this, is to build those relationships and have them be reciprocal, right? Um, and a real world example of this would be Turtle Island's Indigenous youth growers. We're partnered with UNL's East Campus. We're connected to those educational institutions. And we also collaborate with traditional knowledge keepers, linking youth with community elders. So we have multiple generations in our garden on East Campus working together. Not only do we have our Indigenous elders giving their knowledge to the youth, we also have members of UNL staff, professors, greenhouse experts. We have the solid community foundation so our youth can grow and understand more than just the profit motivation for starting an agricultural business. They're getting their hands dirty. They're learning the ins and outs, and making friends and actually being a part of the community that they want to work for. And this goes to our north: engaging with your community, active community participation beyond sales, meaningful contributions and involvement in long-term community impact. The example I chose for this was Spirit Incorporated. They provide educational support services, developmental training, multi-generational community programs, food justice, and sustainability initiatives. They do work, educational work for all members of the Indigenous community, while at the same time, they're bringing forth their own products kind of rooted in that Indigenous wisdom. So they're not trying to leave anyone out in their community, because when everyone works together, not only does it make the work easier, it makes the work sustainable and longer lasting. And so my big pie in the sky idea for rebuilding those Indigenous trade routes, these are kind of our first steps in how we're doing it. So we're trying to have an online platform showcasing our members, their business profiles, product displays, service descriptions, photo galleries. Here is Natara Regenerative Farm. I have to do a little bit of updating because they just recently had their new website release, and it seems like they're doing really well. A plus Sandro. But this was a simple little logo that I helped put together for a member. So, and this took into account his ancestral stories, his values, and where he physically is. So this logo isn't just something developed to make money, but it really is kind of a reflection of the work Sandro strives to do and the people he's looking to support. And with his business, he's not only selling food, he's also educating people who come onto his farm, showing them regenerative agriculture, showing that not only can we grow food for people, but we can also heal the land in the process and educate others, right? So Sandro's kind of really incorporating all four of those directions. And I think that, at least from what I can tell, it's really starting to pay off. And so we also provide technical support. And so whether it's they need help developing their website, they need social media guidance, if they need to create content, or just integrating e-commerce, setting up a Shopify, or their food for all integrations, right? I'm there for all of that, but I'm also there to be part of their community, right? I don't want a relationship to be forced or artificial. I want to reach out and speak to them and help them. And also, we try to provide some benefits for our members. So with resources, expanded market reach, connection to a wider Indigenous food community, and technical assistance when needed, kind of shown here by the business builder work that Ben and I have been enjoying for the past several months. All right. So how are we actually growing Indigenous food sovereignty? What is my actual impact so far? Well, we have 6 diverse Indigenous-owned businesses, and they span agricultural and food-based enterprises. There's cross-generational knowledge transfer, sustainable and traditional practices, and community-centered growth. And the benefits for the community would be preservation of these traditional foodways, economic opportunities for Indigenous entrepreneurs, educational programs for youth, and to strengthen local food systems and enhance food sovereignty. Because no group of people can be truly sovereign in their future if they're not able to feed themselves. And that's one of the main things I'm trying to strive for or to build, right? And so each of our own members bring a little bit something to growing this indigenous food sovereignty, right? Such as implementing sustainable farming practices or offering these programs and educational workshops, right? To spread that knowledge, or connecting youth to their heritage, right? What were the traditional foods that they used to eat? How did their ancestors survive on Turtle Island for thousands of years? And unfortunately, that knowledge is in danger of slipping away. So that's why we have to come together, old and young, new and old. So we're just trying to promote these businesses while keeping the core of their businesses indigenous and emphasizing those traditional food ways. And of course, I've had my challenges, right? Some of my main challenges so far have been building trust with tribal entities. And this is part of this is researching their council structures, um, their terms and changing of membership happens pretty often, maintaining a database of contacts, and also respecting the traditional protocols. Indigenous nations, they're not just some massive monolith of one identity. They're all unique cultures, and there's thousands of them. So taking the time to sit down and understanding who they are or where they come from is really a big deal in this work, right? Um, and also another challenges I've struggled with has been identifying indigenous producers, and I've overcome this through partnerships with tribal colleges, community outreach, networking through my existing members, and other educational institution collaborations, such as with UNL or UNO. Leave no stone unturned, right? And whoop, whoop, there you go. And some key learnings from my journey is patience and persistence. Building lasting relationships requires consistent, thoughtful engagement over time. Um, this can be a challenge, right? There's a lot of people out there, and there's only one of you. So you have to sit down and really try to make those connections. You also have to recognize that successful solutions honor traditional wisdom while embracing modern approaches. For example, hydroponic technologies were pioneered by multiple different indigenous groups, including the Maya, right? So we have these modern hydroponic technologies, but they still have their roots in those indigenous ideas and concepts. And growth has to be sustainable. It needs to be balanced with their cultural preservation and community values. Many of the people that I work with, um, their main goal isn't to get rich, it's to become sustainable so they're able to provide for and care not only for their immediate family, but also build their community, right? Those relationships are what give us our passion and our humanity, not the money itself. And I've tried to apply this to my dealings with um, anyone that I work with, and my implementation principles. These are kind of some rules I try to live by when doing this work. So listen first, act second. Community voices guide our approach. My job isn't to go in there to say, "Oh, you're doing everything wrong. This isn't protocol." It's to go in there, listen to what they need, what actual help you can try to give them, and then work within that framework, right? You'll want to blend traditional knowledge with contemporary solutions, and this takes multiple different forms. But at the end of the day, it's going back to that TEK, traditional ecological knowledge, right? Um, Sandro's an excellent example. His farm practices these regenerative concepts that his ancestors used, and he brought them to Nebraska. And of course, that had some challenges that were solved through our technologies, right? So he's sitting there blending uh, his heritage with these modern solutions. And on top of that, we have to maintain our cultural integrity in all initiatives. Um, we can't throw our respect and this traditional knowledge when it suits us or when it becomes uncomfortable or impractical. Um, these cultures have existed for thousands of years on this Turtle Island, so they must have been doing something right. So maintaining that cultural integrity is important. It's worked for the past, and it continues to work to this day. We just have to come up with some interesting solutions where these ideas might start to butt heads a little bit. And continuing on, kind of the future vision of Turtle Island Trade Coalition. Because currently, my focus is a little bit narrow. And so, but I want this to truly be part of the Turtle Islands, engage all of these old trade routes, right? And to do so, we have to change, right? Everyone's always changing, in the process of changing. So our evolving approach. So instead of working just directly with Indigenous producers, one thing that we were looking at is shifting our focus to direct tribal nation collaboration, supporting existing tribal food initiatives, and of course, creating customized solutions for each nation, right? So it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work, but it's worth it. That's for the future. Tribal nation partnerships. So direct collaboration with tribal nations, supporting their existing food sovereignty initiatives. Currently, I'm starting to work with the Winnebago tribe of Nebraska. And one of the first things they said to me was, you need to come down here, sit down, and listen to our stories and our history, right? How can I provide any sort of meaningful support to the Winnebago tribe of Nebraska if I don't know who they are, if I don't know where they're coming from? Additionally, we're looking at strategic growth, right? We have to pick and choose our battles, and we're doing this through expanding our tribal college collaborations, strengthening extension office networks, and also starting to build industry connections with Indigenous businesses like Sweetgrass Trading Company or Red Lake Farms in the Great Lakes region, right? There are some experienced Indigenous businesses out there, so we have to try to glean some insights for what makes them successful or what sets them apart from the existing landscape. Also, we're trying to expand our digital platform. So we're trying to enhance their e-commerce capabilities, improve the member profiles, have a more robust library for resources, and also have more tailored technical support. And then, of course, in the long future, we're looking at regional development. So expanding our geographic reach from just the Nebraska, South Dakota, Kansas kind of area nationwide. And with that will come additional challenges. But this will also increase our member diversity, support new entrepreneurs, and create regional hubs of indigenous business. Yeah. So this map was part of a college curriculum. It was taken from an encyclopedia, and that encyclopedia got us information from the 1800s. So this is not actually representative of those trade routes. They're more general. However, I'm currently working with Dr. Gabe Bruguiere. Hopefully I pronounced it right. He is a librarian on city campus. And we are working together currently to find old maps, historical sources, to actually try to put together a more authentic map. And that's still a process. I'm hoping to present that at the conference in May as part of some of my initial presentations. So to know how to revitalize these pathways, we have to know where we were before we can continue forward. And a lot of this information was pretty much wiped out, purposely gotten rid of, or not written down, because it's hard to plan for your ancestors when you're currently just trying to run for your life. And there's a lot of lost knowledge over the past 600 years. So I'm currently in the process of trying to build a map. So yeah, I could give this image in a follow-up email if it interests you, but I just wanted you to be aware that these routes may not be completely representative of reality.